Wow. So what about just maybe top 3 tips for somebody perhaps having a dream of running a race, or maybe even just starting out with a 10K like you did, and how do they make that into reality? What would be like 3 things you would say to them? Like, what kind of advice would you give?
That's so insane. I can't even imagine because, I'm thinking of like running in Toronto and you have lots of markers, right? But here you're in the middle of the desert and there's like nothing. It's like you could, it's like you could be totally lost.
Yeah. So the markers are these little ribbons which they have tied to, maybe a bush or something, which with the wind or with the shifting sand, they get covered, and then suddenly you're just totally like, okay, now where do I go, or what do I do, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine.
Yeah. It's kind of like life. Like just sometimes when it's spinning, you're running in circles, and then you're the boss, and it's like you just trust in the universal energy, and you meet someone who kind of guides you along the way, and like so it sounds like you just trust.
Yeah, so I met some really phenomenal, I met this one lady who basically she was, her fiance had died in an avalanche in Switzerland, and she was commemorating her run to his memory. And she had a whole host of injuries, but she was just so determined that, I have to do this because, we were supposed to, she and her fiance were supposed to do the run together. And because of his passing away in the avalanche, obviously he wasn't there. And she was just so fueled by that need to complete the event in spite of, her misery or suffering or whatever she was experiencing. And so when I compared myself to her condition, I was like, oh, like, what are you whining about, Just move along and, just get it done, like kind of thing. Like, so.
So were you injured then? Did you get injured through these events and then you still keep going?
So yes, so during my, not during my Sahara runs, I've been very fortunate in my Sahara runs because climatically India is like super, super hot. And so I was, of course, not as hot as it would be in the Sahara Desert, but I was fortunate in the sense that I'm used to heat. I thrive in heat. I can't take extreme cold climatic conditions. So basically, I wouldn't say my Sahara runs were a walk in the park, but definitely they were, if I had to compare them to maybe running in the Gobi or running in Antarctica or running in the Atacama, they were relatively easier on a scale of whatever. So, yeah. So what happened in the Gobi, as I said, we had this torrential rainfall. Again, you needed to carry a backpack with your supplies. That means your food, your sleeping bag, etc., your medication, whatever you needed. Shoes, an extra pair of shoes is basically a luxury which you do not have because that's just additional weight. But then running in soaking wet shoes is a recipe for blisters. So basically, my feet got very badly blistered. And because I continued running on them, they got infected. And my feet were so swollen that I couldn't even fit my feet back into my shoes. So what I did is I hacked off the toe area. In fact, I even tried to run a particular stage in a pair of slippers because at least I didn't, the sheer pressure of trying to fit my swollen feet into a pair of shoes was so excruciating. I said, okay, just let me try and run in slippers, which was also not such a great idea. But at that time, you're grasping at straws.
That's all you could think of. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty harrowing time. And yeah, that was one of the races where I did feel that I probably am not going to, like the other races, I never really felt that I'm not going to make it through. But this particular was one of the races where I felt I probably because I was just in, just so much pain for a lot of the time. And so,
Oh
yeah,
my
that was
gosh.
one of the runs. So when I came back to India, of course, I needed to, I was on a host of injections and, just to get that infection, to clear the infection from my feet and stuff like that.
So you still persevered, like you kept going and you crossed the finish line with infected,
Yes.
blistered feet.
Feet, yes. And some
Wow.
very powerful medication um, offered by, again, as I said, you always come across runners. And I was like, I literally, when I was, at one point, I was like literally running and I was having these, because of the pain, I was just like, sobbing. And so this guy was like, so what's the issue? And I'm like, okay, I said, I don't think I can do this because my feet, I'm just in so much pain. I have no idea what that guy gave me. But whatever it was, it just like worked like a miracle drug. Because forget about walking. I was like literally running the course. I was like, oh wow, this is like awesome stuff. So I have no idea what it was, but whatever it was.
Wow, that's insane.
Wow.
So now was this like which desert, what, like, was this a first run, second run, or when you did the blisters, dealt with the
This was the
blisters?
third. This was the third. At
The
Gobi
third
Desert.
one.
Yes.
So that's so insane that,
Yes.
you go through all this crazy amount of blistering and then you get sucked into another one.
Yes.
After that. Like that to
Yes.
me is,
Yeah.
well, from our view, it's like, that's crazy. But to you, what was that? Like, what was the pull then? Like, what was the gratification? Like, how do you feel after you complete a race?
I don't think, I think no money in the world can, equate to that feeling, that sense of accomplishment that you have persevered against all odds, against all your physical limitations, against all your mental weakness when you cross that finish line. I don't think there's anything that, can give you that kind of sense of satisfaction, that sense of, like, I think if somebody could, bottle that essence and market it, I don't know.
I get that. Yeah. So, and then how long does that last? That kind of elatedness, right? That you're speaking to.
That kind of elatedness lasts till you, till another idea germinates and you sign on for your next one.
That's exactly how Len Stanmore
That's
put it,
what
right,
Len
Tanya?
said. Yeah. He's like, we're looking for the next one.
You're always looking for the next one. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
always
So
looking
crazy.
for the next one. Yeah.
So you hear about all
Wow.
these runs and climbs, mountain climbing, desert crossing, but you don't know all these like details of the injuries and the suffering that people go through until you interview them. Like, it's pretty mind blowing that you could just, put on slippers and continue running.
And see, and I don't know, like, I mean, people, like, as I said, bottom line is, but again, over here, I would like to urge caution because
Yeah.
People do lose their lives. People have lost their lives doing runs like this.
I can imagine.
A sense of overconfidence, a sense of pushing your body beyond what it's capable of. So definitely, you need to listen to your body. You need to know when to call it quits. You need to have the sense to know when it's time that you can't push yourself. You can push yourself to a certain limit, but beyond that, it's foolishness. And you need to know when that time is there, because most race organizers, when you're doing events like this, you sign a kind of a declaration which absolves them of any form of liability.
Of course.
So, yeah, so you're pretty much, so you have to be responsible towards yourself. And of course, because almost all of us have family back home. So, it's not just your life at stake over here. I mean, it's something that's going to impact your entire family. So you do need to be a little cautious in the whole picture.
Wow. So what about just maybe top 3 tips for somebody perhaps having a dream of running a race, or maybe even just starting out with a 10K like you did, and how do they make that into reality? What would be like 3 things you would say to them? Like, what kind of advice would you give?
So primarily, I first feel that everyone needs to have a goal, whatever it may be. I mean, I'm just not even talking from a race perspective. I'm talking where life is concerned as well. You need to set yourself some goals. You need to have some concrete planning. I mean, a lot of times, we formulate these grandiose plans, which are just in our heads. We don't actually, we don't work towards it. And I always feel that you need to be realistic, that it's not necessarily that you're going to succeed, but you need to attempt something. You need to actually attempt it to know whether you're going to succeed or not. Sometimes fear holds us back, from actually experiencing a lot of things that we want to, because the fear of failure is just so overwhelming that people don't even attempt something because they already feel that they may not succeed at it. So I just feel goals, be realistic, work towards it, and be okay with that you may fail also. So
right.
That's what
Although it sounded like, this is so brilliant. Yet when you're in the race, you're in that position of, I'm the only person in India. I feel obligation. I feel a sense of duty, and I'm going to complete it no matter what. Isn't that what it was for you? So there was no sense of it. There was no option for you to not finish it. Is that true?
No, I wouldn't say there was no option. I would say that I didn't give myself the option.
Right.
There's always an option. Everyone has options. It's just that I didn't choose to give myself that option.
And that's what made you finish, right? Is that what the big piece was? Right.
Yes, it was, for sure. But it's not that I have not tasted failure. I have, and it was, until today, it rankles me that, I have not, in one of the runs that I did, a marathon in Mumbai, it was a 42K event. And I think I completed I quit at 32 kilometers because I don't know, it was like everyone has their off days, and I was severely dehydrated, I was cramping very badly. And I started my period during the run. Not a very good combination of things working in my favor. And so I kind of, I pulled out at the 32K mark. But till today, that bothers me. I'll be very honest with you. Till today, that bothers me because, I don't know, that sense of feeling that, I didn't finish what I started. It's not a nice feeling to have.
But, coming from this end, I just thank you for sharing that you were menstruating, you were having an off day. Because the truth is, we are human and we are women, and we have our cycles. And in the olden days, we are respectful of our bodies, the way it works. And, in Chinese medicine, typically when you menstruate, it is time where you give yourself permission to go inward. Difficult to do when you have a planned race and you're committed to running. Right. Yes. So I love that we're speaking to this, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the race. It's about respecting yourself as a human being and listening to what it needs.
Yes,
so I don't see that as a failure.
Yeah,
I know it eats away
at all.
So I mean, but like, as I said, there are some times when things just, you can plan for a lot of things, but it's, you can't plan for everything. So there's always room for error. There's always room for things going awry, not the way you envisaged it happening. So I think, and I think that's a lesson for life also, because I mean, a lot of us just, we think things to be a certain way, and when it doesn't happen the way we expect it to go, it gets very dejecting. And but I feel you there's always a takeaway from there's a lesson from everything that you experience. So it's just what you take away from it, and I think it just makes you stronger in the long run. The pitfalls, the highs, the lows, it's all just something that you need to take in stride and move on from there.
Thank you. So we're going to wrap things up. So 2 questions. The first one is, what's next for you?
So actually, like that's one thing which where the running part of it is concerned, like as I said, after I did the Golden Quadrilateral, that was like kind of the pinnacle where the running part of it was concerned, because that kind of a distance is, I think it's a once in a lifetime thing. I don't think it's something that I could probably, manage again. Maybe I could, I don't know, never say never. But as of now, contemplating those kind of distances are definitely, it's definitely not on the radar right now.
No, I'm glad to hear.
There are a couple of runs that I have, on my bucket list, which I would definitely, consider. But now with the pandemic, the way it has been, I'll be very frank to say that I've really slacked where my training is concerned. So plus because I'm menopausal, I've put on a bit, pat on the pounds a bit. So I need to get back into that training zone full time before I could, say in a very concrete way that this is what I need, run that I want to do. Right now, I'm a passionate animal activist and hardcore vegetarian. I mean, I turned vegetarian because of my, the animals, the whole animal that I'm working for, and what I'm doing and stuff like that. So right now, that is something that just occupies me from maybe 5 a.m. to it can just go on to any time of the night as well. Because
right. So it's amazing. So I just want to go back to, you're a hardcore vegetarian. Were you a hardcore vegetarian doing all these events?
No, I wasn't. I turned vegetarian in 2016 after I completed my the Golden Quadrilateral run. Actually, I was a vegetarian before the Golden Quadrilateral run, but the run itself took a year in planning. So I started planning this run maybe not exactly a year, maybe 10 months before I actually started the run in October. And so I had on board a nutritionist, and so she advised me that the kind of the event that I was doing, that I needed the kind of protein and the kind of nutrition that I needed. I would not be able to sustain it on a purely vegetarian diet. Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking to this, because that is a question of concern too, right? It's like, because you mentioned, one of the advice that you said is you should have planning. So planning would include how you take care of your health as you're training and going through the events, right? Exactly. So how you eat, how you exercise, not hurt yourself, all the things goes into this. So we want to thank you for sharing all your words of wisdom. And in closing, our one question, actually, Dr. Tanya, do you want to ask her?
Sure. During this pandemic, what have you been doing to fill up your cup recently? Fill up your cup. So it's kind of like, what have you been doing to kind of take care of you, put you first so that you can show up as an awesome human for you and everybody else around you? So little things, what have you been doing, like your number one thing you've been doing to take care of you?
Actually, during the pandemic, I'll be very honest to say that I didn't really have the luxury to take care of me because, as I said, I work with stray animals, and for them, the pandemic was a horrific time. In India, like we have a very huge stray dog population, and they were literally starving to death on the roads because there was absolutely. Normally, they forage in the garbage and things like that for their for their meals. But because everyone was off the roads and virtually the entire city had come to a standstill. I mean, their plight was pathetic, for want of a better word. So I would actually be waking up at 2 in the morning because, there were restrictions on, moving out of your homes. And so I would probably wake up at 2 in the morning. And initially I was caring for around 50 stray dogs. And during the pandemic, the numbers swelled to maybe over 200 plus. So I would cook food for them, then pile my car up with the food that I had prepared, and go to various points where I would have them, and I would be serving them the food, and if any of them needed any medication or then fix up taking them to the vet. So in fact, I think I was more busy during the pandemic than I normally am. Because
but then it sounds like then though that's how you fill your cup, right? Because wow, yes, you're creating a difference in these stray dogs. Like, wow, that must feel good.
Yes, yeah, it was. Yes, it's very good, but it's emotionally very draining, very very draining, because sometimes I feel that no matter how much I do. It's just like a virtual drop in the ocean, and you kind of feel swept away at times, because it's just like you feel that no matter how much you do, it's just never enough. So that's but like as I said,
keep showing up for them.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Come rain, come.
So what will you do to start filling up your cup? So then what will you do to start filling up your cup just a little bit to make sure you can continue to kind of show up for these cute little dogs that are strays?
I definitely filling up my cup. This is actually what keeps me going, because I know that they need me so much. So that is something which I can just never let that go, because I know that my presence there for them is so important, that even if one day I miss going out to feed them or see if they're sick or something, for them it makes a huge world of a difference. So that in itself gives me that kind of the get-go. Like, I mean, I just don't feel, I don't look at it as a responsibility or a task that I have to perform. It's not something, it's something which I do like from the depths of my heart. Like, it's something that just makes me feel good. And yes. I think at the end of the day, that's what everyone strives to feel, like good about themselves. And I think that's what I feel like, when I do this, that's what I feel. I feel good about what I'm doing. I feel good about myself. So, I mean, the difficulties are part of it, but yes.
Okay.
What keeps
Thank you so much, Michelle. You're an awesome human being. Thank you for sharing your time and your heart and your stories.
So
and it is so beautiful.